agenda planning.
Approve the minutes.
Uh,
Approve
Approve
the
the minutes, excuse me.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Newper seconded.
Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
I guess we'll just jump down to planning.
Sir. Good evening, Commissioners. Everybody's doing well tonight. We've got, first thing on the agenda tonight, we've got our available lot inventory. You'll see that as of October of this year is up to 641. That's actually up about 40 to 50 lots from last month. The reason that is, as far as permits go, we didn't have as many permits issued this month, and we had about 3 different final plats recorded, which added some lots to the inventory. So again, I wasn't really surprised by that. That number's going to fluctuate some, and it's going to go up some more as some of the developments that we've seen construction drawings for over time, they're going to start having sections recorded. So it was only going to go down so far before you started seeing it go up again. I think we may be starting to see that trend. Commissioner Dodd, I hadn't forgot about what you asked me about as far as the map.
Sure.
I think we're still trying to figure out the best way to present that information. So
Yeah,
I didn't want you to think I
yeah,
forgot
only
about
if
it.
it's
Right. Yeah, and we can,
feasible.
right, and we'll find a way to do it. Just, I was trying to figure out what would be the best way. I didn't want you to think I'd forgotten about it.
Thank you.
Sure. The second part of that, of course, is the not recorded subdivisions. That number went down just a little bit just because of the final plats that had been recorded, again, about that same 40 to 50 lot range or so. 2,000, about 2,100 lots still. Of course, 567 of those are in one subdivision. So we have seen some construction drawings for the first section of that particular subdivision, South Haven. They're just now getting to that point of getting them in and we're getting them reviewed. So it'll probably be a little while before we'll see a final plat on that. But if there's any questions on that, I'll be more than happy to answer them at this time. If not, we will go ahead and jump into our rezoning report. I will say, just as kind of a forewarning for next week's meeting, I think I've kind of spoiled you over the last few months with having pretty short agendas and public hearings that take all of 2 minutes, take longer to explain than they do to actually vote on. That's probably not going to be the case next week. We've got 2 public hearings next week. Both of them were fairly lengthy at the Planning Commission level. So just kind of wanted to prepare you for that here on the front end. But again, we've got 2 different rezoning requests. One of them is, first one we'll talk about is for property located at the intersection of Lebanon Pike and Cutoff Road. This is Commissioner Percy's district. I know he's very familiar with this. We've had several conversations about this. The applicant's proposing a residential-only PUD, planned unit development, with 183 single-family lots. This has kind of evolved from their original application. The original application was for the entire property. There's 3 properties there, which equal about 88 to 90 acres. One of them is a very small parcel. It's just a cemetery lot is what it is. So it's really just part of the overall, but as far as the amount of land there, it's pretty insignificant compared to the other 2 tracts. But they originally were looking to do the entire acreage, and at first they were looking to have a commercial element with that planned development. Through a series of neighborhood meetings that we had, about 3 different neighborhood meetings, I think, Mr. Pierce, is that correct? Yeah.
Right.
That the neighbors very well attended, all of them. The last one not so much, but it was during fall break for one, but they'd also made a number of changes. I think the neighbors were starting to get a little happier with what they were proposing, but that commercial element was removed, and so that with it about 8 to 9 acres, which is where we've come up with the acreage that we have now, about 80 acres. So they're looking to do, again, just a residential PUD. Again, there were a number of neighborhood meetings on this particular item, 3 of them. Prior to the October 12th Planning Commission meeting, that was actually the first time the Planning Commission had actually considered this. It had been on the agenda 2 to 3 times before that, but was pulled every time prior to that for various reasons. Again, that last neighborhood meeting they had was October 5th. Again, not as well attended as the other neighborhood meetings, but those that were present at least were satisfied with the changes that they had made. There's actually on your iPads, there is a copy of the zoning booklet. It's called the rezoning booklet. It's the top file there. It's called Cawthron Retreat. And when you look at the, just flip open to the master plan that they've got there. when you look at the master plan, there's a couple of major things that they've changed with this. Again, part of it was the removal of the land, about the 8 acres or so around the intersection of Lebanon Pike and Cutoff Road. A second item was there was a connection between Amberley Street that went through the development. That's the middle. You see on the left-hand side, you see two cul-de-sacs and a stub-out street. That street did originally connect to the subdivision, but a lot of the neighbors in the existing Harvest Woods subdivision, which that road is part of, were very opposed to that connection. Now, and we made it clear to the Planning Commission and to the people out there that we preferred the connection. But something else that they did is they added a connection out to 231. Now, the plan you have before you wasn't updated prior to the Planning Commission meeting. There's actually where that road is coming in on the plan before you, it shows it going into Old Lebanon Road and making that connection there. Staff was not comfortable with that just because there wasn't enough room for stacking. It just made an awkward intersection, quite frankly. So what they have done is they've actually made a stub to 231. They're going to cul-de-sac that particular street where it goes into Old Lebanon Road. They're going to cul-de-sac that, and they're going to put another road down in that area that is out of the rezoning application. Kind of splits the difference between Cutoff Road and Old Lebanon Road, and that's where the stub out is going to be. They're going to update the booklets prior to next week's meeting. We were supposed to have a meeting with them yesterday regarding some of the traffic improvements. That was a pretty hot topic at the Planning Commission regarding turn lanes and the timing of those improvements and those things. We weren't able to meet yesterday. One of the applicants' team was under the weather, couldn't make the meeting, so we've rescheduled it for tomorrow. So we should have that shored up hopefully tomorrow, and then we'll have the revised booklets and we'll get those posted on the SharePoint site, so you'll have those.
The number of lots, only one point of egress and ingress is adequate.
Well, no, that's why we wanted to see the multiple one. They've got the one on Cutoff, and then they'll have one on the 231 directly.
And
That'll be two. I would have liked to have seen Amberley go all the way through, quite frankly, but I think that connection, if I had to pick a connection between Amberley and the one on 231, I think I'd prefer to see the one on 231. So there'll be two connections. It won't just be one way in, one way out. We didn't want, you're absolutely right, we didn't want to see just that.
I misunderstood you.
Right.
There are two.
Yeah, but there will be two connections there, yes, sir. Commissioner Piercy, I think that pretty much covers it. I don't know if I'm leaving anything out that you wanted to bring
Pretty
up.
much so. On the traffic study, did you not say that it did warrant for a turning lane there?
Yes.
What's going to be done about that?
Right, and that's what we're going to be meeting about tomorrow as far as the timing of some of those improvements. The traffic study that was performed, actually, that intersection warrants some improvements now. So it's going to be more so when this is constructed.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so that's something else we're going to be discussing with them. There's also some discussion about those curves on Cutoff Road as you go down Cutoff, where it kind of S curves right in there.
Right.
The applicant was willing to dedicate a little bit of right-of-way to
Straight
allow,
out.
right, of course, and the Planning Commission made clear that, any improvements would have to be coordinated with our highway department on that. So. And Mr. Brooks will be at that meeting tomorrow as well.
You're going to build us a new road all the way through, right?
Yeah.
He's listening.
He is listening. He is.
Unfortunately, the highway department can't really build roads for developers, but we are
Oh, it won't be for the developer, it'll be for those people that's already living out there.
cut off.
Yeah. See, that's just a cut-through road, is what it was.
Traffic volume right there. Certainly is. Currently, that's,
Yeah.
before this, so.
Is there any other questions about this application? If not, we'll go ahead and move to the second application. This is property located along Epps Mill Road. The applicant is Ms. Brenda Benz. This is another application that has quite a long history, actually, with the Planning Commission. Not so much the County Commission. At this point, it's only ever come before the Planning Commission. Originally, let me see here. Okay, a similar application to this that we're seeing tonight was submitted back in May of 2012. Now, this would have been under our older zoning ordinance. And then in February 2013, which would have been under the new ordinance. Both of those requests involved the subject property, but they also involved a couple properties to the south of that as well, Mr. Engelson's property. Long story short, Both of those applications went to planning commission. Well, one of them went to planning commission. The first one did, but never went beyond that. Before the board of commissioners, it was asked to be pulled from the agenda. The one from February 2013 never really made it even to the planning commission. There was talk, there was a neighborhood meeting, and then it kind of just died out at that point. Now, recently, the planning commission held a public hearing on this item back in August of this year. The big difference between this application and the past applications was that Ms. Benz was going with it just with her own property, her existing acreage, about 89 acres, I believe. And the Engelson property to the south was not part of that. So it was a very well-attended public hearing, very large amount of comments that were made. Ultimately, the applicants, after hearing the comments and hearing the planning commission's desire, the planning commission ultimately deferred this application so that another neighborhood meeting could be held. So they asked to have that neighborhood meeting and deferred it for 2 months, basically until the October meeting of this year. Neighborhood meeting was held on September 1st at Whitworth Buchanan Middle School. Again, very well attended meeting. Many of the same issues that were discussed during the planning commission that were discussed at this neighborhood meeting, a lot of those had to do with traffic in the area, the condition of Epps Mill Road, the condition of the intersection, or the interchange rather, with Epps Mill Road and I-24, the amount of commercial area that was already, commercially zoned land that was already out there. A lot of those same issues were brought up at the neighborhood meeting that were brought to the planning commission. There was also some talk about the possibility of maybe reducing the area that was being asked for rezoning. So after the neighborhood meeting and other meetings with the neighbors in that area, ultimately the applicant reduced the area she was requesting from the 83 acres, which was the entire property, down to 59 acres. And there's a schematic on your iPads to that effect. Looks like this, essentially. This is it right here. This is a schematic that the applicant came up with. So again, they're looking at 59 acres, and then the remaining acreage would just remain RM, which is what is currently zoned. While not a unanimous consensus by any means, most of the folks that did speak during the second public hearing earlier in October were happier with the reduced acreage. There was also some discussion, not just about the amount of acreage, but the zoning that was being asked for. The zoning that they're asking for is EAC, which stands for Employment Activity Center. This area was identified under our comprehensive plan as what's called an employment center. This is an area where, after we did the research and looked at the development of the area, where we thought employment type uses, larger users could possibly use this because of the interchange. There are issues with infrastructure in that area. Again, we know the roads aren't in the best of shape. They are on the county's major thoroughfare plan. They're also on the state's long-range plan. No funding imminent for them at this point, but it's on. They know that they're out there. There was some concern about the amount of EAC zoning that's already out there, which is why we, honestly, the fact that it's an employment zone is why we created the EAC zoning district. That particular district allows for a wide variety of uses. It allows for most commercial uses. It also allows for what are called light industrial uses. Heavy industrial, I believe, by special exception, which means they couldn't be done by right, but light industrial uses. That, I think, was really the biggest sticking point with a lot of the neighbors in the area. They just, I think they heard the light industrial, and I think a lot of them just feel that they didn't want to see that kind of development in the area around that interchange. Now, a lot of that area down in there is already zoned EAC, so from staff standpoint, it's consistent with the zoning that's already down there. Also, any development that's going to happen, of course, with the traffic and everything, we're concerned about the road improvements that have to be done down there. Any use that comes in is going to have to submit a traffic study for us to review. They're probably going to have to make some sort of improvements. Now, obviously, we can't expect them to fix the entire road, but they can at least make some improvements because of the impact of any business that may come in, to help make the use a little more friendly to the area. Again, there's also infrastructure issues out there as far as the water. There is water, there is sewer available from the city of Murfreesboro out that far. Again, that would they'd have to go through the city processes as far as site plan approval and all that, should a development come in if this is approved. There are some capacity issues as far as the water is concerned. Somebody wanted to come out there with a larger water user, they would have to pay to upgrade the lines in that area. So that's just a few things to be aware of. There was also some discussion about possibility of asking for a different zoning classification as opposed to the EAC, possibly commercial services or maybe even commercial neighborhood. One of the files that's on your iPad, it's labeled EAC uses. It's something that I put together, kind of lists the available uses that are allowed in the EAC zone, either by right or special exception, and then kind of gives a comparison between the EAC. Now, when I did the chart, I did it with commercial general and commercial services. I hadn't really talked with the folks out there as far as the commercial neighborhood as a possibility. I personally don't think that commercial neighborhood's the best zoning classification for that, right around an interchange or something like that. Commercial neighborhood's really more for areas like around what I would say neighborhood-friendly type uses. So that was kind of my take. But that's why the commercial neighborhood's not on there, because I hadn't had that conversation with them prior to making that chart. So that's a lot of information to throw at you. Ultimately, the Plan Commission did feel they had enough information to make a decision. They did recommend approval by unanimous vote. I failed to mention that at the last public hearing for the last application, there was a unanimous vote as well for approval. One other thing I did want to mention, there was some discussion about possibly looking at a gateway for that interchange, creating some sort of a gateway district, similar to what the city did for the Medical Center Parkway and I-24 interchange. I do think that's something that has merit. I think that's something that we should look into. I don't think whether this property is rezoned or not, that necessarily, I don't think we lose that opportunity one way or the other. I think even if it is rezoned, or if it stays the way it is, I still think we have that opportunity to do that. Don't have the logistics worked out of that. That's really more of a longer term type project, probably at least a year or something like that to affect something of that magnitude. But just wanted to play that out there, that was part of the discussion that was had. So yeah, I've thrown a lot of information at you, but with that I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I may have missed, but the 59 acres is the request.
That's the
59.
yes. Right.
And is it just an extension of this unnamed road that has access, or?
Right, that unnamed, yeah, that would be its
That's
primary,
the only
yes,
access?
that would be their access, because, yeah, there's no other road frontage. And incidentally, that was just named to, there's a long story behind that, but that was just named to Miller Lane. Eventually, that Miller Lane that exists is not going to exist as we see it,
Yeah.
and so that'll be Miller Lane. So that was named just yesterday, as a matter of fact, from the road board.
And our if we move to approve this, it just goes to the full commission.
Correct.
That's,
I mean, that's all you're doing tonight, yes, sir, is just accepting the report. This is really all you're doing.
Something I would like to add to the one that's in my district, there was a petition turned in with 125 neighbors that were opposed to it. Of course, they didn't show up at the third public meeting because of the fall break situation. But I've had numerous calls on this issue. But it passed through planning 7-0. Or maybe 9.
I think it was 9, yes, sir, it was 9.
these are folks down here.
All back
all
in
these
here.
neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's all developed all behind it.
I'll move that we accept his report.
Motion to accept, need a second.
Second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Doug.
And sorry for being so long-winded tonight.
That's a lot of info, man. We needed it.
Solid waste. Back to you now.
David, you're moved to the back, aren't you?
I'm lost out.
Penalty.
Okay, we get to go second and all that.
Good evening, how are y'all? We've got quite a bit to cover, but we'll cover ours kind of quickly. Landfill's still doing well. staying busy. Kind of surprised with the weather we've had that we've still been as busy, but we have. And of course, the convenience centers right now is when we're kind of slowing down, but at the same time, we're slowing down and gearing up for Thanksgiving. So we'll be kind of busy at Thanksgiving. We'll slow down again for a couple of weeks, and then right when Christmas hits, we'll be busy for about 3 weeks straight, and then it'll slow back down. Still got a lot of things we're trying to get done before winter. Some of them we may not get accomplished. We're trying to get the concrete poured at Eagleville, so we can get that pad completed and the compactor reinstalled, and then Highway Department's going to pay for us. But if we keep getting later and later this month, we may be a spring project. I think asphalt will actually freeze if it's cold enough. That's all I've really got as far as the actual report, and then we've got some other stuff to talk about.
Are we taking any of the debris from these demolition taking place?
I think they're recycling most of that. I'm not sure where they're going with it. A lot of times when they're big companies are taking down masonry buildings, they're recycling that stuff. And of course, the D&J building, a lot of it was metal, so it would be recycled. Of course, metal prices are down.
Anybody got any more question on the landfill or anything? Not we'll move ahead.
And the last of the report that y'all have is a budget amendment or two, actually 4. We haven't really bought any new equipment other than some recycled stuff and a compactor or two since I've been here. So we're spending a little extra money. We had a program in place to repair and paint the containers to get them looking better and in better shape. And we looked at that program. We thought it was going to take us close to 10 years to make it through the cycle, so we decided to ramp that up a little bit more. So we want to move $25,000 out of equipment and put it into the repair line item so we can repair more of those containers this year. Our advertising line item, we have spent most of that or have most of it obligated. We're going to wind up with somewhere around $16,000 in new signs going into convenience centers. All of the parts and stuff have been ordered, so we're hoping to have those back to us by the end of the month, and then we'll start distributing those to the centers. We'll do one center at a time and then train the center attendants on how to instruct the public to read those, look at those, and get those going. Other contracted services, the cost of recycling materials. Some of the materials we actually have to pay disposal fee, and we're hauling a lot more of it, and those fees have gone up, so we're going to need more money, to $9,000 more, we think, to make it through the end of this year. And then on communications, we're having a lot of issues with our AT&T connections at the landfill, so we're going to try to go completely wireless out there. So that's what the 4 budget amendments are for.
Catch me up on this recycle situation where you're having to pay to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. On the glass
Wait, I'm not done.
Okay.
Will Middle Point not take it?
Yes, sir. Everything except electronics. They won't take the electronics, but the glass, plastic, cardboard, paper, even the metals, they'll accept those.
Are they taking it and charging us a fee if they take it?
No, we can dispose of that free because it's residential debris.
So why are we paying somebody to take it?
We're hauling it ourselves, but we're taking it to the facilities that charge us to dump it. Glass is the biggest one. If the glass is deemed contaminated, which we talked about that a couple of months ago, then they'll charge us $20 a ton for the whole load. And those loads range usually between 4 and 5 tons. So, we get a bill for those. And then the single stream commodity, if we take that to Nashville, we get charged $4 a ton for that, which we haven't taken
So
it to.
regardless on glass, we're not bringing anything home, money-wise?
No.
Because of contamination.
Right.
If we,
Would it not be simple, excuse me,
no, I think I interrupted you.
would it not be simpler just to take it to the landfill?
That would defeat the purpose of us trying to get people to recycle. It would be cheaper. Yes, sir, it would be cheaper. But it would defeat the cause of trying to recycle.
Who determines if it's contaminated?
They do.
Okay.
And then usually when the drivers look at it, now it's been several weeks ago now, but the driver sent me a picture of one load. And I told him to just take it on the landfill because it was terribly bad.
Thank you for the information.
Woody, what about that logic? What's your opinion on paying to set a good example? That's not a trick question. I'm asking all of us. We're paying $9,000 to set a good example in preparation for the what we know is coming, and that's just a
Hopefully in the long-range plan, what he's doing will pay off to when we get to our own garbage facility handling whatever we're gonna do. Maybe this will help pay off in the future. I can see right up front, hey, stole money away.
Yeah.
But in the long run, it may pay back off.
And that's the $16,000 worth of signs is intended to help that situation too. It's, they're color coded by commodity, and they say, you know, this is what's supposed to be in this container, and then below that it's gonna say this is what's not supposed to be in that container. So we're hoping that the ones that are actually recycling now and doing it incorrectly, we can change their approach and get them to do it correctly, and then we'll push harder to get more and more people to recycle. But you're exactly right. You know, a lot of people say recycle is not profitable. In our situation right now, it is not profitable. Cardboard, paper, and metal does turn a profit, depending on how far you haul it, but the other commodities do not.
and the glass weren't contaminated, it wouldn't be this expensive.
If the glass were not contaminated, it still cost us $4 a ton to dump it for the
As opposed
process.
to 20.
Yes, sir, for the processing fee. But right now, that's the only location that we have.
I've got one more question, you're not gonna like it.
Okay.
When they turn the glass down, what do they do with it?
They probably trash it.
Bring it back to Middle Point?
No, that up there at that facility, it'd go to West Camden
Okay.
landfill.
It's about the color of the glass.
No, it's not the color. The different colors have different values, but what they're doing is like on our single stream product, and it's taken a while to get the schools to change what they were doing, is that, you know, it's easier for them to put their commodities, recycled commodities, in a trash bag and put it in a dumpster. Well, if we take it up there, they won't open that bag. They deem that contamination, and they'll throw everything away that's in the bag. They'll throw the bag away without ever opening it.
So the contamination is plastic and other non-glass materials.
Well, if it's in a bag, because they don't want to have to spend the time to open the bag and pull all that stuff out, they'll just toss it.
But we're losing a whole load because there's some plastic bags in it.
Either plastic bags or cardboard or anything other than glass, even if it's not beverage or food container glass, if it's a light bulb or a china plate or a ceramic coffee mug, that's contamination.
I've made that mistake myself.
Yeah. In your estimate, what would it cost to have a person at each facility? Say I drive up and I set my stuff off and let that person dump it in the correct bin. Now, I mean, what would that cost the county as to us
Probably
paying
more
a
than the
fee?
fee you're paying
Yeah.
because it's.
Well, I
not-
mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
it'd be-
great question.
It'd be over $200,000 a year
just for
You don't-
for
the
those,
person.
because you'd have to have one at each location. Yeah.
And we're paying how much a year in these penalties? You know, I mean,
Well, we had, in the budget, we had 5,000, now we're increasing it to 9.
$9,000.
So we're gonna be at 14,000 if we're accurate in our projections.
I mean, it's easy to, like Mr. Dodd said, it's easy to accidentally spill one in there. And I've seen little old ladies struggle trying to get the container or get whatever they got the glass in and pour it in there.
Mhm.
So I was wondering if, a person could help them.
Well, we have center attendants, and if they have the time, then they'll have them, but, on Sunday afternoon, and now, since we don't do open top stuff on Sunday, that busy day is now Tuesday.
Yeah.
So they're busy trying to make sure that things are going in the right place as much as they can. But all these budget amendments are coming out of the same budgets. We have 5 different budgets, and they're all within the same budget of each one of them. So we're not asking for any new money.
Did you and Mayor Burgess look at this?
I don't know that the mayor's actually seen this or not. Have you, Mayor?
I haven't seen this, but I concur with these requests.
Let's do the budget request, we'll take it and then we'll follow up on the motion on the report you give. We'll go ahead with the budgets first.
Do you have any more amendments?
That's all the budget amendments.
May I make a motion now to approve these transfer of funds and approve this budget?
Second.
Let's call the roll. Okay, call the roll.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
A while back, if you remember, we came to you about asking for a grant, permission to apply for a grant for composting in partnership with the city of Murfreesboro Solid Waste, the city schools, the county schools, and Rutherford County Solid Waste. And we have received notice from TDEC that we have been awarded the grant. It's $1.69 million, or no, $1.169 million grant. Lion's share of that grant is through the city. They'll actually be the lead dog on this hunt. Our part of the grant would be roughly $340,000 for a new garbage truck and block bar systems for the containers. And of course, it is a matching grant. So we'd have to spend, you know, our part of it. If we spend the $300,000 for the truck, then the grant would reimburse us $150,000 of it. But what we're asking for is permission to go ahead and accept this grant. It's over a 5-year deal. Our plan is to get the equipment in place and then start with a very few schools, do it in a geographic location where it makes routing sense for the truck, to get the system up and running and make sure we're handling everything properly, and then start adding to it. So once we get started composting, it may take us a year to get every school in the county and the city involved in it.
Repeat, the grant's for 300-ish, 300 or so.
The grant, total grant
No, our portion is 300.
is about 340,000.
It's a matching grant.
Mhm.
So,
So for us to collect the truck that we're looking at is gonna be roughly $300,000.
okay,
So if we spend $300,000 for the truck, the grant would reimburse us $150,000.
okay.
But we've got to spend the money and then ask to get reimbursed for half of what we spend.
What does this truck do?
This truck would be from all practical purpose, from everybody just looking at it, it'd look just like the front loader trucks that we service the schools with now. The difference is the way the blade operates. It's a pendulum type blade that does the packing. And the truck itself is a solid body truck with the tailgate seals all the way to the top. The head at the front of the truck is closed off completely. There's no side door on it, to where the chances of that food waste and juice escaping the truck is really minimal. The design on the blade is twofold. One is to keep all the cylinders and stuff up out of that slop, and then the other part of it is that normally when you have the truck that we pack with, stuff squeezes around the blade and the driver has to get behind it and clean that out. The design of this truck, that doesn't happen. The blade swings up and anything behind it falls back down. So
Compared to the front loaders you have now, when they were new, how does the price compare there?
The
See,
last-
none of us ever bought a garbage truck.
the last front loader truck we bought was about $240,000, and that was, I think, 3 years ago. You know, so they've gone up a little bit. And of course, the design. This is the specs I've got for one so far is the only one. It's the only manufacturer that makes them like this. So, you know, before we can go out for bid or anything, we'll have to see if we can find another manufacturer to bid on it. But the other downside to this truck, I'm hoping we can find somebody else, is I talked to the manufacturer and he said it will only dump a 6-yard container or less. 99% of the containers at the schools are 8 yards. And he said that you won't be able to dump it in the truck because it will hit that blade. So I asked him, I said, is it because the truck, when you dump, and normally you roll the container over in the truck? He said, exactly. When you roll it over in there, it hit. So I asked him if you put stop blocks on those cylinders to keep it from rolling that far, and he said, nobody's ever asked that, but that should work.
What's the source of these funds to buy the truck?
We don't have it in our budget. When this grant came available, we didn't put anything in this year's budget for it. So if we wanted to move forward more quickly, we'd have to go for a budget amendment, move money out of solid waste fund balance into the truck line item to buy a truck or to order a truck. The city's got a lot of equipment to order and get in place first. One of those is going to be a big tub grinder. It's about a $500,000 piece of equipment, and they have to be custom built. So it will take them a long time to get that in. So and it'll take about 6 months to get our truck. So we may have to do the budget amendment and move it into a budget line item so we can order it, but it would probably actually be spent out of next year's budget. Before we receive the truck, would probably be in the 16-17 budget year, operating in that budget before the truck ever actually came in. Is that what you were asking?
Oh, then we don't need to do anything with this tonight, then, is what you're,
No, all I'm asking for tonight is to approve so we can accept the grant. The city of Murfreesboro has to do the same thing. The way this, Ms. Reba Carlton literally wrote this whole book to write the grant. She's with the county, so she's did a really, really good job of getting it prepared. Since the city's actually spending the lion's share of the money, then they'll be the lead on it.
Mr. Nolan, if we accept this grant, has there already been prepared an interlocal agreement between us and Murfreesboro? Has that document been prepared?
Yes, sir. It had to be done as part of the grant.
Could we I think maybe we need to, can we make this part of the motion to accept the grant and to also execute the interlocal agreement with the city of Murfreesboro?
Yes, sir.
Subject to our final review of that document, but I think they prepared one that's probably okay, but I think we need to have that in place before we can actually work with the city on this joint project.
Does the approval of accepting the grant commit us to a truck or that truck? Could it go to some other fund?
But the money is available in his funds, so we need to use his fund balance to do this
Right.
at the appropriate time.
Does it have to be a truck?
It has to be a truck. Our responsibility in this interlocal agreement is to haul the food waste.
Okay.
That is our duty of the whole, that's our primary and only responsibility.
So if we approve it,
Okay,
we're
so
getting that truck.
we
Get
have,
one similar to it anyway.
just as a matter of disclosure, when we file this application grant, there is an MOU in there. And so we had permission to file the grant, is that correct?
Mhm.
But I still would like what sort of be in a resolution whereby we're authorizing acceptance of the grant to make note of the MOU that was provided in this grant application, okay? Just to be clear that we do have an agreement with the city.
And to be clear, help me here, Steve, I don't want to approve this and commit to a truck that won't take an 8-yard container. What's your opinion? We're going to have to rig the cylinders, or we're going to damage a brand new $300,000 truck. Within a matter of time, we're going to be hitting the left.
And the
What we're
containers
gonna
being bought?
do is take bids on this truck. And
Okay.
we're gonna write specs, and the specs that will be written in such a way that if he asks for an 8-yard container, if they don't meet that, we can't buy that truck. So we won't buy a truck that won't do what he thinks needs to be done to accommodate the containers that we already have.
If you pick it up only food waste and you take an 8-yard container and fill it up, the truck's not gonna pick it up anyway.
It's too heavy.
It'll be too heavy. So even if you use the 8-yard containers, you won't be able to fill them up. So what the company suggested is cutting the top off the 8 yards and make them 6s anyway. The sleeves are in the same location, so as far as the truck's concerned, it won't make any difference. Both school systems have a lot of containers that need to be repaired or replaced. So by the time we get the program up and running, it'll probably be the schools will wind up buying one 6-yard for each school as the time needs, as they get added into the program. The big push would be to try to get the Murfreesboro City Schools involved first, because they do that feeding program. They have a lot of food waste. But what we're looking at is in Smyrna, you get downtown Smyrna and you've got about a half a dozen schools within a mile radius. So that, as far as routing wise, and then of course you dump it up there at Smyrna's, Murfreesboro's multiple facilities where we're going to be doing it. So it makes sense to start right there close.
Thanks for backing up there.
Oh, no problem. The matching,
Thanks for the answer.
the
Thank you.
funds to match this grant, now do you have it in your budget, or we're gonna have to reach over in a pot somewhere and rake it out someday?
I don't have it in
This
our operating budget today, but we do have it in the solid waste fund balance.
Okay. And you've already been given permission to ask for the grant, right?
Yes, sir. Y'all did that probably in August.
Came back with
No, I just don't want that truck with 6 yard.
it. Oh, we'll take a hacksaw and cut the.
Yeah, exactly.
hacksaw.
That's my concern.
I'll let you do the song.
I think-
Any more questions, or you wanna go ahead and make a motion?
Did you write the motion down as Mayor Burgess? Well,
The motion is to accept the TDEC composting grant and approve the interlocal agreement with the city of Murfreesboro that was in the grant application, and approve execution of the same.
I'll second that motion.
Need first.
Not first.
You call roll on
You're just accepting stuff, you can do by
Okay.
acclamation.
it. All in favor?
Aye.
That's all I have. Yeah, please report.
Yes, need
To approve the report. I'll make a motion to approve his report as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you.
No, building codes. Building codes.
Good call, Shirley. Come on up there.
He didn't get the memo on the change to 5:30.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, want to thank Mr. Burgess for filling in for me in the last couple of meetings, and apologize for being a little bit late. I thought everybody's really early tonight, so I will remember that time change for our meeting schedule. Anybody needs a paper copy? Building Codes Department report for October. We issued 207 building permits. $200 was taken in for plan review, $39,127 for building permits, $7,675 for plumbing permits, $1,085 for gas permits, for total fees for October, $48,087. On the back of that report are running totals for our permitting. We see that we issued 207 total permits for October compared to 200 last October. First 10 months of this year, we've issued 543 single-family dwellings. Last year, we issued 542 for the same period of time, so we're up one house compared to last year's 10 months. Our total permits issued this year is 2,341 compared to 2,161 last year, so we're up 180 total permits. It looks like we're going to finish the year out really close to last year's figures. Total permits will be up. I think single families will be pretty close to that 600 mark, 620, somewhere right in there. That's a good number for us also. That's a good year. Our next page has our zoning enforcement report. We performed 117 total inspections for October. Our inspections total for the year is 1,743. Most of our activity, of course, you can see is our open storage, property maintenance of properties. We pulled 13 signs from right-of-ways in October. 15 new cases was opened in October. Total new cases for the year, 187. Our next report is our development tax collections. Building Codes Department collected $661,500. Planning Department took in $147,000 for $808,500 for October. Our cumulative total for the fiscal year, $2,217,750. Our breakdown of where those fees were collected, as you can see, Murfreesboro City, we had our largest collection from Murfreesboro city limits, 336 apartment units from Robert Rose Boulevard was a majority of that collection in Murfreesboro City this time. 808,500 collected for October. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody got any questions on the report? Not, entertain a motion to pass.
Move to approve this report.
Second, Mr. Serena. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Anybody got any other business? Not, so we adjourn.